And we're live! Hello and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and I am joined, finally, not only is it Hangman's return to Virginia, it's Latta's return to wrestling headlines. Welcome,
man.
Latta.
Hadn't thought about it like that, man, but I'm glad to be here, Imp.
It's been so long that the last time he's appeared on any of these shows, the site had a different name. It's been that long.
Wrestling Headlines is quite different from Lords of Pain, but I don't know if it's a banned word or not, so I'm just gonna stick with Wrestling Headlines before somebody comes through and zaps the stream.
Well, because I've always said that why did you change the name? It's like so we can tell people what it's called without them going, is that a sex thing?
That's great.
I'd quite like to be able to do that, please. That's
right.
A nice little thing. But yeah, we're going to talk about Dynamite and the number one thing. Actually, no, first off, how are you doing, Rich? How are you doing following Full Gear?
Man, I'm really good. Personally, I'm good. And then thinking about post Full Gear, it just feels like the start of a new chapter. Feels like the closing of a certain era, almost in a sense, in AEW. The first kind of arc of champions are kind of taking hold, who the four people were supposed to be. Of course, there's that famous All Out poster that had the first four champions on it. So now we're kind of getting into uncharted territory. I think we could all kind of see where each champion was headed. I think Hangman's a little less clear than the previous three champions, but following that, Full Gear was just a phenomenal show. Top to bottom, lots of I think I had 6 4-star matches on there, some other stuff that was enjoyable, a couple matches that were just there, but they can't all be hits, but it seems like it reflected well in the buy rate as well, so it was good news for AEW and a hell of a way to follow All Out, which was like a once a lifetime show,
setting setting their best ever pay-per-view records and everything with All Out, only to then hit very close second with this one. That's sustained momentum. That is awesome to see, especially with the promotion so incredibly young to be hitting a stride like that. Such an amazing amount of consistency. I mean, looking at the competition, it's no question. I'm meant to be covering Survivor Series this weekend, and I'm not but it doesn't matter. The show doesn't matter. Why do I have to do this? It's just
fun story. So James and I were talking about One Nation Radio the other night, and then I had mentioned that Survivor Series was coming up. And he's like, do you want to preview it? I'm like, I don't think they have any storylines.
yeah.
And I'm not a weekly viewer of the show. I can kind of, assess it in the larger point of view. But nothing. That's a strictly a review show at this point.
Yeah, and for me, that's the only reason I watch it is to do the reviews on this show. Because when I don't do the reviews on this YouTube channel, don't watch it. Just routinely, I don't watch SmackDown. I watch Rampage instead. Then I get busy. Don't watch SmackDown.
Right.
It's just that's the way it is. There's quality viewing, and that's what I stick with. But with AEW, because unfortunately I wasn't able to cover Full Gear because of family issues, which I've had really bad luck with AEW this year. I've covered one event. So I've watched them all, obviously. I've not missed out on any of the amazing wrestling. I've just not had that amazing watching it together thing. I've only had it once for All Out, which, to be fair, was a really good one to do it for.
I got to attend one show. I got to attend Double or Nothing, and that was I attended with Dave Finishow and the Doc Chad Matthews, so that was pretty fun.
Shout out to Chad.
First time I met Chad. Yep.
Chad's. I think Chad asked me to be his friend on Facebook this week. So hello again, Chad. It's been a while. But yeah, I remember Double or Nothing. I was trying to think. Jeremy sat next to the giant face of Jeremy was also a highlight of that era. It was that venue. I'm obviously jealous that I've never. They're going to run that venue a lot, so I've got the assumption I'm going to have the opportunity to go if I want to down the line. It's not going to be
get to go one day. I'm pretty sure. I think at this point it's kind of it's not some super impressive venue or anything, but it is. It's got its own little piece of history that I think everyone should. If you're an AEW fan, you have to go there once.
And speaking of history, speaking of venues and things, we were live in Virginia for the crowning celebration of Hangman Page. And he's walking out, he's all jubilant. The graphics team was just, they got me. They got me at Full Gear. Just we're proud of you graphics team. It's like, oh, you got me there. That's so nice. And compared to what was on his graphic for this night, the way it was going for the unnecessary cheap pop, because he's wearing the Virginia is for Lovers t-shirt, which is
right.
The graphics team just taking the piss immediately, which is really funny.
He also answered a question. I was wondering if Hangman was a belt wearer or a one over the shoulder. So it looks like he's a wearer.
When he's heel, he can outlaw it over his shoulder. Show us what Roman Reigns was trying to do and actually be the outlaw belt slinger. I'll call him.
Yeah.
That'll be... don't turn Hangman heel yet. Well, that's one of the main discussions for this kind of episode, this show. Having titled it Dickhead Danielson. With an absolute... I'm so happy with that screenshot. Yes, I took about 6. That was the best one. But it was just, as in, it was just, he's talking, I'm just going to quickly screenshot. One of these will be good. Just one of them was like, that's a gold mine. I'm sticking with this one.
Right.
It's the background, it's the thumbnail, it's everything. Sorry, Daniel. Sorry, Brian. But just the question, did he turn heel? Or was he just showing heel things? I was watching Wrestle Talk earlier, and they brought the question of, was he heel all along? We just didn't realise it. Whilst the tweet I put out earlier today was that I'm more in line of these people have discernible characteristics and traits, meaning they can have beef, and they don't have to slot into goodies or baddies, heroes and villains, because they have discernible motivations. So there are clashes you can develop because you've already given them characteristics. They're not flat things to then fit into a feud. They're people. They've got likes and dislikes. And that's exactly what this is here with Bryan Danielson not liking the way Hangman's portraying. Doesn't mean he's turning heel. Danielson views wrestling in a different way. Therefore, there's beef. I really like that.
It's a difference of philosophies. A lot of tickets have been sold like that over history. I do not think he turned heel per se. Could he turn heel in the future? Sure, he could. But for me, this was like him leaning into being heelish to make a face versus face feud kind of work. The respect feud might not necessarily go down the best way, especially with how over Danielson was. I think with Hangman, I think Hangman's in a much more defined role than Danielson is. At this point in Danielson's career, he can do whatever. I feel like it's not a case of him I was very disappointed when he turned heel in 2018 because that was at the end of what I thought was a blown babyface comeback, and it just felt like he was just another wrestler at that point. I was like, oh, whatever. And I feel like there are special times in people's careers that you can take advantage of and really maximize somebody to make them really break through. And once they were never really going to go with them at that point, I should have just got the message. And we're further along in that part of Danielson's career. So I think he can be whatever the story necessitates, but I'm 100% with you. This was not a heel turn. This was a guy that's, since he's come into AEW, he has wrestled more aggressively. He's in that situation. He's wrestled more often, especially like he kind of like talked about cowboy shit and then saying, hey, none of that stuff involves wrestling. I'm wrestling every week, and he's going to continue going every week through the Dark Order. My question is, what is Hangman going to be doing in the meantime, like to keep him kind of with his momentum, besides looking on in horror? I don't know what's going to happen, because I think that's a good way for people to get into Bryan, just seeing him saw down these guys one by one. But we'll see where they go with it. Like they're usually right on the ball with how they're booking, especially the world title. So there's definitely heat here now, like in one segment.
And with Bryan Danielson going through the Dark Order like this, like not only have they set it up really well for them to just tick off the Dark Order, it turns out the towns AEW are visiting from this point on is a different hometown for a different member of the Dark Order. That is amazing planning.
Right.
Like I think it's Colt Cabana next week in Chicago. Then it's Alan Angels. I can't remember where they're going with it after that. Then they go to Long Island, where John Silver's from. And it's just like bang, 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 one after the other. and
this probably have more effect because they normally don't beat people in their hometowns.
Yeah.
So like when you actually have to like pull the con of doing it and break that glass, like it's gonna be effective. And I would imagine that each city they're gonna have multiple hometown people, so it'll just be one person they're executing. Like they're gonna have CM Punk, they're gonna have MJF, they're gonna have Cody still. So some of the lower guys can get sacrificed.
And it's just the fact that it's the former WWE guy beating all the people in their hometown. It's like, oh, it's brilliant.
And
so many layers to this. So many layers. It's all set up, but of course, what does Hangman do in this meantime? Does he just kick back and go, oh, well, that's bad? And just
do I just drink beer? I hope they've got something for him too, because I'm ready to see it. I'm ready to see like his impact on business, and I think they've got a challenge on their hands with booking a white meat babyface world champion. So they haven't done that thus far, and I'd love to see how the booking rhythms for that play out, because we're still learning a lot about AEW still from how they do things. So like there's another wave about to start of other guys, and then we can't forget about the guys that have been around, like whenever Moxley comes back, or whenever Kenny comes off the surgery table or something like that. So there's a lot to think about. And
like for AEW in terms of like infancy, for me they haven't reached like their first kind of judgment period yet. As in, when they've been around for about 3 years, then for me there's finally enough to look back at. Maybe 4's the best way to look at it, where you've seen the rotation enough times now, you really know what the product is like, you know where they're going a bit more long term, and you can really do an actual judgment. Like, there were people that are coming out like after 1 year of AEW being on. I'm like, come on, that's not how you judge something like this. It's just, you've got to wait for the cycle to kind of go around again. And they're still doing proof of concept. That's like one of the conversations with Hangman, is that it is establishing a proof of concept of AEW to build a star like this over this amount of time with this amount of consistency, rather than what we've seen for so many years of essentially comic book booking, where it's just like one story, then just shift over with very little continuity, some but not much, onto the next thing. This is full blown and continuity the entire time. We trust you, like almost every other TV show, to trust and follow. It's like what AEW is doing is not abnormal, but it's like a test of proof of concept for wrestling. And we're still in that phase, because that's one of the things said for Hangman, was that, well, this is the proof of concept. See if this works. And we're still at that point, which tells me, well, we must still be in that infancy then. We're not at a point where we can properly judge them yet. We haven't reached it. But, I'm excited. I'm excited. That's a shout from Delstar in the chat. Maybe start teasing Cole versus Page. Just go that route.
I mean, you could do that. I think Cole has his hands full with the Jungle Man, who's fresh faced again. So we'll see where that goes first.
He had a beard for a bit. He was evolving into a Jungle Man, but he's shaved it back down now. But didn't like it. Back to a boy.
Someone told him the women think it's disgusting. Cut that off.
And they're like, nah. He tried it. Nah, not for me. But yeah, he's probably busy with that. Hangman can have so many different things. I just don't know which one they'll go for. And Danielson's setup is really interesting. And that takes them through to their debut on TBS as well. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they have this match on that show, like really load it up. You put this on there, you put Punk MJF on there. Like you got the Women's TBS Championship Tournament final as well. Like you load the hell out of that card like you're going to Grand Slam again. Just really build it up.
Yeah, I think that first TBS show you can probably like circle as a special event, if I had to guess.
Oh yeah, 100%. But in terms of the segment itself, as I realised, probably talk about what happened with the. And it's been enough time where I can say the word shit now. It's not in the intro. You've got to go 3 minutes before swearing. That's the usual way. I was like, AEW makes it so flipping difficult to not swear. I've got to get through for 3 minutes so I can actually advertise on this bloody video, and then I'll keep it. But as I've thrown this video into the water by putting dick right at the front of this title.
Oh, man.
We'll see. So it goes. It's according to Dickhead. I'm not putting the word dick like that. I'm saying it too much. Let's move on. So It was National Cowboy Shit Day. A cowboy champion comes home to Virginia. Which wrestling comes home to Virginia. Johnny Silverhands brings out a new AEW World Champion. I've been playing Cyberpunk. I'm doing references. Brings out a new AEW World Champion. Hangman Page, full of positivity and charisma. But his immediate next challenge is the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. And it's immediately, he's like, oh, this is something new, something different, amazing. And, like, you got to be careful in wrestling. You say the name, and they will come out. It's meant to, like, oh, I'm
like
facing...
they're all there.
Yeah. It's like how I picture the Royal Rumble, where they're all just standing in an orderly queue. just waiting, just really politely. It's just... yeah, when you ask them to, they are actually really kind and look out for each other. They're like, oh no, you go first, that's right. How I picture Gorilla. But, and what a world it is, where characters have those defined traits and convictions, so tensions and differences are believable, regardless of face-heel alignments. You don't just... Like, my pet peeve is two people have a massive feud. Then within a year, they're both tagging together because they're both baddies. And there's no mention. I'm just like, did we watch this?
There's got to be at least some type of reconciliation or somebody does something to kind of prove that they're on the same side. But it's just a different philosophy. That one that I like much better
100%.
Over here.
Yeah. And a brilliant way to get some heat off of that Virginia crowd. But from Bryan, I thought he was fantastic. Some amazing ad-libbing as well. In name-dropping WrestleMania, as he plays his own trumpet. Just immediate boos. Fantastic way to get some heat. Just say,
brilliant.
Just like bigging up how hard he worked in WWE, and the crowd are like, boo! No.
Man, we ain't trying to hear none of that. Like, I think that was like MJF kind of does this too, and he actually ended up doing it later in his promo. But there's nothing that will get heat in AEW like saying you're going to jump to WWE or what you did in WWE or something like that. Like, people just generally are not going for it.
And only for him to respond to the crowd with, of course, Virginia boos hard work. That was an amazing ad-lib. Just like, in that moment, just like, I can get some heat here. Brilliant. Brilliant stuff. He's so good. Whatever I ask him to do, whether he believes it's too early or not, or it's fine, it doesn't matter. He's amazing. He's such a good wrestler. But yeah, the difference in Hangman as well. Like, those words this would have affected him in the past. Somebody like Bryan stepping up to him and saying words like that, it would have gotten to him. Not anymore. He's able to stand up for himself and give the dirt right back to him. And just
right. I think he did a good job not drowning. Bryan's obviously way more experienced than him at flipping crowds, and I think Hangman had enough like holstered lines. It was almost like a rap battle, like that he would do it there. He looked believable, and there's something about like your first title reign, like either the belt looks good with you and it gives you this extra layer of confidence, or it doesn't. And I think it does for Hangman.
Well, just when Bryan came at him, just like, I'm actually disappointed I'm not facing Kenny. Just like, what a great burn. But then Hangman immediately.
Look, we are too, Bryan.
They're holding it. That's what I want. I choose to believe that it's holding it off. They're going to give it us. We're getting it eventually. Just hold it off for another year. I don't know what they'll do. It's AEW. We'll find out. But yeah, Hangman immediately responding. Just like, but unlike somebody, I did beat him. And I'm pretty sure I did it in under 30 minutes. Just immediately just shuts Daniel down onto the next point. And seeing him stand up for himself like that.
Look, and that's an insult. Like the wrestling man, like Bryan Danielson, you tell him he, this cowboy drinker person that has kind of been not wrestling every week. Yeah, he did something that this wrestler couldn't do. Like, his pride was insulted.
Well, it's just like, character arcs don't die because the main story has completed. It's just it's the result of this whole journey on display then creates the character we've got here, and you see everything that's influenced it on display. It's when I say it's so good to see, it's purely because of the world we're coming out of. Like, wrestling has not been this. This is standard basic storytelling stuff. None of this is crazy out of this world. It's just that we've not seen it in wrestling, so it feels like it's groundbreaking. When in reality, it's just competent writing. I felt the exact same thing watching the first new episode of the new Dexter. series, it's like, oh god, that show went to shit. The final few seasons beforehand were awful, and this one is like, well, it's competently written. So at least there's that.
And like, I've never watched Dexter, but like you said, it's in a reboot now, or
Yeah.
like okay.
It's
so
like
it's like, do they have to reboot all of it, or can they like switch the ending?
It's like a rebooted continuation. That makes any sense. Like, they're picking the story up. They're gonna like, everything's still canon, but they've got competent writers to. It's like, well, this is his past. If we treat it like his past, we don't have to really dwell on it, and then we can just move on competently and make.
Right.
You see the effect in him rather than going, well, that bit was a bit rubbish. But the character shows what happened to him, which is great for AEW as well. I can link it back because that's exactly what Hangman is. Just you look at that character, you see everything that he's been through. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, I've watched one episode of Dexter. So far, competent is the word I'll use. I won't say I'm massively enjoying it. It's just a breath of fresh air to watch that show with competency alongside it. Like early AEW, we're like, it's not perfect, but it's competent, and that feels so fresh. So fresh.
Right.
Into the match itself of Bryan Danielson versus Evil Uno. Danielson playing brilliantly into the Virginia heat he himself created, continuing to taunt as he fights off Uno, in the end shouting to the crowd that Uno will get his effing head kicked in, hitting the running knee before tapping the man out. Rich, what did you think of this match?
Man, I thought it was a solid. I didn't think it was like, some super like Danielson match, but I think what he was set out to do was show that extra layer of aggression, and he was it was almost like he was seeing red. Like, he was like, I'll chop this goddamn suit if I have to off your chest. Like, so when you take that bodysuit off, you're still gonna see what I left on you. He's slapping this guy hard as hell, kicking him hard as hell. And, Uno's a good worker, too, so he's never going to embarrass himself. I remember the match he had with Miro. And he did, like, I think it was the Nick Diaz thing people are saying. When he does the quick triangle and he's, throwing
doing
the double buys and all that. So, the first of many Dark Order members going to get whooped.
Like, all of them. One after the other. Like, you going to do anything, Hangman, or are you just going to let him do the wrestle good? We'll find out. We'll find out. But, yeah, doing because I've not seen the Nick Diaz thing, but I know he got a ton of heat when he did it. So for Danielson to do that as well, yes, really, really good way to get some of that heat. It's the fact that he hit that running knee, and then it was like, no, I'm going to do this. And then he posed doing it as well. And then he posed upon the ring apron afterwards. Just, awesome stuff.
Right.
Yes, chat. Bryan is on fire. It's on fire. Is this one of his best runs of his career? But I mean, it's difficult.
Yes. No question. Like, he's just come in. I don't know what his exact record is in AEW now. It might be in double digits at this point, but he's wrestling like a madman right now.
Because the comparison in my head is his original run before he went to WWE. First time I saw him, he was wrestling this random bloke called Kenta. I don't know if you heard of him. And it was like that.
Yeah, Kenta. Heard him maybe once or twice.
Yeah. He's part of a dead faction. But he did a. I can't remember what the match was at Ring of Honor, but that was like my first Ring of Honor show I ever watched because I was just checking it out. And I think because their TV was always out of sync with whatever pay-per-view they were doing. It was even when they got signed to Sinclair, that was still the case when they first started. I remember watching the Kevin Owens stuff, and I was really into Steen at that point when he's like the top guy in Ring of Honor, and I'm just like, this is just out of sync. None of these TV builds, they're building to a pay-per-view I know was already aired. That's just crazy. But yeah, seeing those guys watching the Bucks and just thinking, well, they're going to TNA. It's just watching their style. It's just,
funny how that all works out.
And just like my introduction to Ring of Honor was Danielson versus Kenta, and to see that we've kind of come full circle to now, this is a very different style of the American Dragon. He's still that same thing where he's not babyface or heel. He's just a wrestler who's got his own convictions and beliefs of what wrestling is. And each individual person he comes across, he'll either be an absolute dick or just a bit of a dick. That's the kind of difference. And with Hangman, he went full dickhead Danielson in this one. Oh, yeah, amazing. And yes, the Suzuki in the chat of that Suzuki match was epic. It bloody was. Yes, it really was. Amazing match. As I accidentally press a button on my notes and screw everything up. Tony Schiavone. So one of the things on this show was teleporting Tony Schiavone. He was everywhere. Just so many backstage segments. And his first beat off duty was to be into the ring to interview Danielson. And this is where we learned that he will be challenging Chicago's own Colt Cabana next week in Chicago. And as we found out as well, the likelihood he can just do that run because every next town is the hometown of a different Dark Order member. It's like when you know you're going to do a thing, you can plan it. It's crazy.
Man,
what a crazy
It's
idea.
this crazy secret that I don't know if everyone knows they can do. You control where you book the buildings, you control who you put in the matches, you control who wins. It's a really it's an unfair thing when you think about it.
Well, I watch apparently one of the excuses why Survivor Series has had it feels like it's had next to no build is because the lines coming out were, well, we had to build to the draft and we had to build to Crown Jewel. So this just wasn't the time to build Survivor Series. And I'm just like, you pick all of these dates yourself. You can move the draft. It's fine. You don't have to do it then. It's just... I'm watching this guy. This is the problem of your own making. Just move the draft. Problem solved.
Right.
It's like, it's mental. Look at the games. The games placed a point on it. It's like, I think we'll end the season at WrestleMania because that's the big one. They can do a draft refresh there. The video games did that in 10, 20 years ago. Why is that still not a thing now? Let's do it. October's a crazy time to do it. Survivor Series means nothing. My point being, you control everything, and when you know you're going to go to a place, he's already shown this with as soon as the Lucha Bros became champion, because he knew he was going to crown Lucha Bros as champion. He gave the Butcher and the Blade a ton of wins, so they were immediately had the wins behind them to challenge them, because he knew they'd be facing the Lucha Bros, because he know the Lucha Bros are winning. It's insane concept. Pay-per-views don't come out of nowhere. You schedule them so you know when they are.
It's amazing.
You can build to them. It's crazy. I don't want to be... I logged onto Twitter today. I was actually just before I went live so I could actually do the thing for this. And I see a tweet from WWE saying, Aaliyah's out of the Women's Survivor Series match and Tony Storm's in. I'm like, why are you announcing this the day before your go-home show for the pay-per-view? What is this?
What is the network television for?
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't know.
Oh, God. And, I won't go into it. But still, it was just a direct comparison. And the fact that you've set that up so well in AEW just is it's competent. And it's all-round competency. They know they're doing a thing. So they just go, we can do this, we can do that, we can plan, we can build. It's not even big brain. It's just competent. It is nice to see, though. Speaking of something nice to see, MJF, in his self-congratulation post-match interview, I say interview, just him shouting at a microphone, sat on the chair, wide-legged. It was so good. Recorded at Full Gear after his match. He proved every single person wrong in out-wrestling and beating Darby Allin with a headlock takeover. And as soon as he said that in the promo, I was like, I knew when I watched that match, this was the exact promo he was going to cut. Because yes, the babyface has an out because he hit him with the knuckle, hit him with the diamond ring, then did the takeover. So he can say he beat Darby Allin with a takeover. Well, we know he knocked him out cold with an illegal weapon first, then did the takeover. But he
never
did
mind that.
Yeah, never mind that. He did it. He did the headlock take, exactly what he said. It's like, just bucking the bad guy to say something as specific as that and then to deliver on it so he can then jump to a world title match using that momentum. Really, really good stuff. MJF came out later, but I just want to give recognition to just the Full Gear match. Really, lots of people saying that was their match of the night. Personally, for me,
really great match.
It stole the show.
It was a horrible night for the MJF Can't Wrestle people. Pretty much like he said it in his promo. He said he got everyone's mark chance, and he said people were forced, to bow down and acknowledge and all that. And I think anytime Darby Allin and MJF lock it up from here, there's an expectation that's set, and I think they're going to come through on it. And this is going to be defining rivalry for this promotion.
I mean, when you picture who are the next champions, I mean, MJF is out here cutting promos on the 4 pillars of the future. are the next champions already established, and you can build up MJF to be that mighty... MJF doesn't have to beat Hangman, because again, he's one of those 4 pillars of the future, so now he can lose, so he has experience of the future, which is something else AEW's already done. Look at Darby Allin facing CM Punk. He's lost, but he's got experience, so he doesn't lose in the future. It's like, oh, it's so nice to see. And he knows he's going to come back because they're building that trust over these years and time. But yeah, he can build up MJF. He can use CM Punk to really light the fire under him, which we'll get to later, and to set him towards Hangman and really believable challenger to beat him, which he shouldn't do. Give Hangman a nice long reign. It took them 3 years to really get to this point. Don't have him jump it so quickly. After that, teleporting Tony's now with Eddie Kingston backstage with 2.0 into run their mouths like the delusional jobbers they are. However, then we get Daniel Garcia versus Eddie Kingston. I was like, okay, it builds to something I want to see. That's awesome. That's great. They see so much in Garcia. Yet another kind of veteran wrestler to put him in the ring with.
I love the New Yorkism that Eddie Kingston and even Daniel Garcia showed. Like he's like, you let another grown man call you their son. Like, I don't respect that. Like, it was almost, I was expecting Dame Dash to pop in and talk about respect, and being a boss and being a man and all this stuff. So it's a guy with a lot of technique versus a guy with a little technique, but they're both tough as hell. So I think that'd be a good way to get Kingston back on the saddle after that match with Punk, because that's like a devastating loss. Like, obviously we knew Kingston was going to win, but Punk was going to win, but Kingston, like, I really feel strongly that they have something in him, and the day he actually wins something, people are going to explode. Like, he's got a special connection right now.
Oh, 100%. He's one of the most over people in the company, and he's coming out of a white hot match against CM Punk. Like, that was just pure fire from the get-go, and just like that, they did so well. You could tell it was like two veterans who really know what they're doing, and Kingston, just by his facial expressions, the way both of them came down the ramp, and yeah, I mean, for me, it was like the second he hit the spinning back fist, and then just smiled. It's like, yes, I want to see this Kingston versus Ishii. Yes, I'm down for this. Which is my very natural tie-in to the next segment. And as soon as I saw this announced, I'm like, this is the one. This is it. 4th or 5th time's the try. We can do this. I could do a show in Latta. It's going to happen. I'm not going to cancel. We'll say it came so... today was so crap. It came so close. I'm like, no. This is like the 5th time we tried this. It's going to happen. Yep. And, but yeah, as soon as I saw it, I'm getting Latta on. It's Ishii. It's Stone Pitbull. It's RLPW. It's going to happen. Rich Latta's pro wrestling, but probably not in this way. Something tells me this would not be how you would have debuted Ishii. But Butcher and the Blade with homeboy Matt Hardy and the Bunny versus Orange Cassidy and Tomohiro Ishii. The best friends, all part of Chaos now, which is a faction of interesting kind of members, it's fair to say. Yes. You got your hard hitters, you got your ace champions, you've got the best friend of the ace champion, Yoshihashi. Then you've got... You
have a DVD salesman.
Yes, DVD salesman, Toru Yano, one of my MVPs of the G1 every single year. I make sure to get... It makes me laugh sometimes with the reactions, but I make sure every single year to at least get one Toru Yano match onto the best matches of the tournament, because we do the 5 matches of the week. For one of the columns, every time I'm like, I'm going to get one on. I'm going to do it. And I'm like, it's fine. This year I was like, it's fine. Jeremy's covered the other match. I can do this jokey one.
I can sneak this one on here.
Yeah. He won't be happy with it, but it's happening. It's happening, Jeremy. He's got on. But yeah.
He'll patrol.
Ishii in AEW has been one of those names where it's just so many dream matches for him to happen. So many opponents for him to face. I don't think anybody had him teaming with Orange Cassidy in a semi-serious, semi-comedy match against Butcher and the Blade with Matt Hardy furious at ringside. That is not what I expected.
Very different from what I expected, but I think some of the best stuff, like things about Ishii, is seeing him play the straight man to a lot of foolishness that's around him. So from that standpoint, I liked it. I didn't think this was any like type of super match or anything, but and Ishii, like, you know, he's just coming off that Jay White main event, just been through the G1, so he might be a little beat up right now. But you know, I thought it was all right. I thought he was over enough, and putting him with Orange Cassidy was smart because Orange Cassidy is always going to get a reaction, so that kind of saves him from you know, people not knowing who he is or anything like that. I would have loved to hear his music and everything like that, but maybe in the future, I would be pretty sure this isn't going to be the only time we see Ishii, and he'll really get to show what he does probably the next couple times. But I did pop seeing him across from the Butcher, who in that division, that Ishii division. I love me some Big Butch.
Like the never open weight, big boys doing big boys wrestling. Like, yes. Yeah, so some of those big lad meaty chops. Yes.
There was a great TikTok I saw today. It was a woman that put it out, and she was like, it's called the Never Open Weight Championship, and look at this guy. I don't want to look how he's built. I wouldn't want to fight him. It's called the Never Open Weight Championship. It is never open to take from him. Like, so I thought that was pretty funny.
But yeah, the Stone Pitbull in AEW, the fridge with legs lighting up Dynamite on TNT in a tag team match with Orange Cassidy, which is definitely unique. But yeah, Ishii versus the Butcher, as Rich said, sure was your big boy sight. So you got your Ishii clash with the big boy. That's how I would have debuted him. Ishii versus one of AEW's many big boys. Because contrary to people who don't watch the show, AEW isn't just indie vanilla midgets. It's just, there's a lot of big boys on there. A lot of people for Ishii to clash with. A Butcher's chops to no avail, just deathly stares from Ishii. And before I get to it, like, for me, the biggest takeaway from this match is that 2 weeks in a row they've used this chaos stuff to name drop a certain ace, to name drop Okada multiple times throughout both matches on Dynamite these past 2 weeks. And I'm just like, yes. There's a lot to kind of build the ethos, the mythos of this great man. Just name drop him so all the viewers know who he is. They may not know what he looks like or anything, but they'll know the name.
They're not doing this stuff for no reason.
Yes, 100%. Like they've conditioned me now. When they say something, it's not for nothing. Like they know something and they're educating.
And they've been doing this from day one because you know, like we were talking about earlier. They have the freedom to plan it in advance. I remember at Scorpio Sky, you're never getting a title shot, and you know that was a one they threw out there, and it was pretty funny.
For me, the biggest example is the 4 Champions thing, where Kenny Omega from day one had that as his Twitter banner and just left it. Right. And this is like the 4 Champions of AEW, and it's just like they knew from, and Tony Khan openly saying now, like, yeah, I knew, or who my first 4 champions, I knew exactly who they were going to be. It's like, well, yeah, because you control everything. When Tony Khan says that, you see the reaction on Twitter, like, oh my god, he's such a genius. I'm just like, this is basic stuff. It's just, right. Yeah, it's just that we're just not seeing it, so he feels like a mega mind. When he may be really strong creatively, and we're kind of seeing it with all the different plates spinning. But it's just the thing of, yeah, you write the thing. You can do what you want. It's a crazy concept.
Right.
Yeah, but for the match itself, Hardy's evil plans foiled as Cassidy's Chaos chums carry him half-consciously to victory. Ishii with one hell of a lariat to the blade before hoisting him high for the sheer drop brainbuster. Love to see it. Yeah, nothing absolutely insane. Ishii on his, just a mixture of the badass Ishii that we've seen, just little drip drops of it, whilst also him just looking around going, there's a lot of weird going on. Just waiting his moment.
Yeah, there was one part where he just kind of walked into the contact that I think got the crowd pretty up. So Tomohiro Ishii, he's a master. He's one of the greatest wrestlers to ever live. If you drop him in the middle of nowhere, he'll figure out how to get over.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I can't wait to see more of these guys. And they've just been dropping in New Japan kind of veterans, but it's all with a purpose. So that you know about New Japan, you know about the different factions and things before anything really starts. Before the big invasion, they've built up these people Like JR making Okada sound like one of the best wrestlers living today, that's for a reason. I don't know how soon it's going to be, but it's for a reason. I mean, they've got 3 days of Wrestle Kingdom planned. Actually, no. Let me scratch that. That's not the interesting thing right now, because thanks to Josh and Jeremy over at Keeping It Strong Style, both New Japan and Noah are doing a press conference at the same time on the same day. It's like, that's interesting.
Keiji Muto unifying the championships.
Get on it. It worked back in the day when he had to crown Tanahashi. It's only been like 10 years, but you can do it again. It's the exact same idea.
Gosh.
I think that was 2009 they did that, where Muto held the title, and he didn't feel fresh then. So I'm sure 12 years later is fine, right? 13 even.
Right.
That'll work. Anyway, after that, Andrade and FDR backstage with Tony. After Full Gear, they want their big multi-man extravaganza, which is announced to be for Thanksgiving show next week. We'll get to that later. Then, immediately after, Britt Baker's with Tony. How did he get there? It's insane. His powers. Man is doing the rounds this week. She's taking a tad of a step back from the spotlight as Hayter has her moment in the TBS Championship tournament, which is a nice thing to do, especially as I look at the women's division and I'm just like, well, yeah, all the big names in the tournament, who are you going to face? Makes sense. Just pretend, get some heat as well, because it's Britt Baker of, we know you're not doing this to take this spotlight, because you want her to beat up Thunder Rosa. It's really good stuff. Well done.
And also, like, if you win a belt, then you never had to fight me. So, Britt, master manipulator.
And it's just that thing of taking the piss out of MJF at some point, where he's just like, he only wrestles like 3 times a year. He's got it down,
right?
Almost as well as Orange Cassidy, where it's just the thing of that man's going to wrestle for years. He can make money for years, and his bump card is going to be so fresh in comparison to others. He's got this down.
When Orange Cassidy is an old man, his gimmick's going to be even funnier. Oh my God. I can imagine like a 60-year-old Orange Cassidy moving in extra slow motion, because it'll be like real.
He doesn't have, it hardly has to change anything. It's perfect. It's just doing the same thing.
Right.
I can't. Orange Cassidy, he can go on for years. He'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine. He's got this down. Minimal effort for maximum reaction. He's got this. After that, the TBS Championship Tournament quarterfinal match. Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida. Shida achieved her 50 wins against Serena Deeb. But at what price? How injured was she going into this match? And the AEW graphics team letting us know that Nyla is also at 50 wins. I was like, oh, that's
stats.
Interesting. Stats are awesome. Would have been nice for me to know this in advance, but awesome going into the match. At least they showed it at some point. Great to see.
Right.
Yeah, but that sets the stage for this match, where they are the two, and I don't like this phrasing, it's bad sentence structure, the two most winningest, I don't like it, it's not a word. The two most, well, I've written so, the two women's division competitors with the most wins in the company. That's how I've read it. I'm not writing the word winningest in my notes. It's not happening. But yeah, so it sets these are the two women with the most wins in the company, which sets the stage for this match. Well, who's going to win here? But you've got that thing coming into the match where Serena Deeb has pretty much injured Shida. So how's she going to do against the beast of Nyla Rose? And the thing they did really well was establish that Shida has fight. And you saw it again and again. You saw it later in the show as well with Sammy Guevara, where they've got that injury, but there's so much fight in them that they just keep countering whatever the other person is trying to do. And it's just like, well, what are they going to have to do to put this person away? Turns out the answer here was Serena Deeb. She is not leaving that woman alone. Chopping her down as soon as we got back from ad break. And, it was, for me, that led into a really strong finish, with Nyla going to end the match with a bomb, only for Shida to swing into an awesome last-ditch submission. Fighting the Native Beast off again and again. A nasty backsplash landing for Rose before she then recovered into an awesome-looking stretch muffler. Just talking on that knee that Deeb had chopped down early, that was already injured, putting all of the pressure on that knee for a quick tap. And that makes Nyla Rose look really strong. There's the added thing for Shida that, she was fighting back really well until Deeb got chopped her in the knee. And Nyla then goes to the semi-finals of a tournament, which also puts her over. And, simply, whoever beats her then also gets that awesome leap for the final.
I thought this was really good too. They worked really hard. Like I think sometimes I don't think Nyla gets like the credit for like her ability to look like a monster and to look dominant. And there was a moment where Sheeta like posed in front of the camera and Nyla just trucked her. Like it was, I was like, yes, that's physicality, because like I think Nyla like goes from times where, especially like early in AEW, like where the way she would hit people, it would be like she was holding back because she'd be like working with someone like Riho or something, right? And just the size difference, I felt like she didn't know her own strength. So I think she's getting better with that. And anytime these two get together, it's a fight. It feels like Sheeta's literally fighting to survive, and they kind of say, "Hey, go ahead and lay it in," and they trust each other. And like I said, this one they worked really hard to get this over. And this got over big in the group chat.
That is great to see as well, especially like what you talked about there. Like in this match, she attacked Vicky Guerrero. Which is
Vicky took a she took a mean kendo shot.
And just beforehand as well, where Vicky's trying to do the dastardly cheating type thing, and then Sheeta gets to do that pose with the kendo stick. It's like, yes, awesome. Like I know that she's shown many times already that she's a big fan of video games and Japanese video games and stuff. And just when she did that pose, I'm like, yeah, I know you're a JRPG fan. Just as soon as she did that pose, straight out of one of those games. But yeah, I like it though. I like integrating that stuff. I thought she looked like a badass as well, and she's facing Nyla Rose, who's also massively into that world, so it works really well. But just the ending as well. It just saves everybody. Everybody looks awesome. They all got the different spots. Deeb also coming out of this with some momentum and fire because of costing Sheeta the tournament. It all feeds up really well. And leads nicely into the next bit. After that, Malachi Black. These promos are... whenever these come on now, I just stop. If I'm semi-distracted, like if I'm on Twitter or whatever, I'll just immediately stop. I'm like, right, I've got to pay attention to this. I can't miss what he says. Because it feels like I've got to be able to repeat some of this. But for me...
you gotta follow the lore, you know.
I got to keep up with that Malachi lore. But... that as he gives us a delightful detailed description of the word nightmare and just links it to Cody and Pac and the Lucha Bros. Yes, with an absolutely killer line at the end. Relax, my friend, while oxygen is on your side. It's like, such a killer line. He has so many that I'm just like, I'm gonna have to pick one of them for time. But that was my favourite. But yeah, I love these promos.
Yeah, he's got his own unique look, and I think his presentation is light years ahead of what it was any other point in his career.
Yeah, like you'd see, because like the little details you'd hear that he was putting into his promos in WWE, you just think, that man's... why are you scripting that man with bollocks? Look how creative he is. Just let him run with it. And you see what they're doing here. They're basically just doing, like you heard Bryan Danielson. At least I'm not doing James's one. It's like, but Daniel Bryanson. At least I'm not doing that. But yeah, with him, when he was just saying that they pointed the camera at him, it was like, yeah, well, okay, I cut a promo. Wait, what do you mean? What do I say? Whatever you want. Say what you want. What, there's not a script? No. Like, you're facing this guy. Say what you want. It's just, and you can tell with Malachi, he's got so much creative freedom to run with stuff and create things. And like, the other one as well is Miro, where those promos absolute highlight every single week.
Miro talking and talking with the lights off. There's something about talking with the lights off that just makes you fire up.
And he, like with Miro, you learnt the formula by the end of it. Like, he's going to question his God, but he's going to let you know by the end that his two motivations are his wife and his God. And it's just like, and he comes up with a different catchphrase for both of them in every single promo. It's like, yeah, we know the formula by the end of it. I love it. It's great. It never got tired, especially as he was building up to that big match against Bryan Danielson. So yeah, really strong stuff. And Malachi as well. He's got so many killer lines every single week. It's great to see. Speaking of killer lines, it's MJF. He got his promo next with Sean Spears and Wardlow there to join him. Spears being a great accountability buddy, which is a phrase I learned from Among Us, and I was just like, is MJF an Among Us player? Is that kind of thing? I've seen the AEW guys playing each other on Twitch. I know they all like that game. But yeah, rightfully earning his crunchy snack that he just ate sitting behind MJF. He just sat on a chair and ate a crunchy snack as MJF was cutting his promo. It's like, good boy. I don't know why he got to say one little line, then eat chewable. Okay then. On Full Gear, on Full Gear Victor shitting on Hangman and how he deserves to be the next AEW World Champion, saying one of those phrases you can't say in wrestling. No one in that locker room is on my level. Okay. He's done it now.
Also, they sent that man out there in Virginia for a reason too. Like I feel like they're telling us something without telling us with MJF.
They know what they're doing. We've already established this. Yeah, with every little detail, they know what they're doing. Like later with when the Acclaimed did their rap, and it's always a good thing we're in Virginia because you two are both virgins, and Leo's just like, I've got 3 kids. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Usually I like what Max does. I thought this one was kind of a miss.
I'd say it was every thing you were expecting. I put in the kind of blatant thing to go after Barrel. Yeah, just went straight for it. Like, no hesitation whatsoever. We're in Virginia and you two are virgins. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. At least MJF called them shitheads. Like, you're awful.
Yeah.
At least there's that. When look in my eyes, I see CM Punk. I've not got my guitar next to me to do the bit. Oh well. The Punk standing arms folded opposite Friedman as the crowd chant holy shit. He doesn't have to say a word. He just stands there with his arms folded, and Maxwell jokingly offers a handshake, and Punk just smiles and walks away. It's like, yes, just like with the Kingston thing, they know where the money is.
This shit is so funny because it's like I feel like everyone has seen the picture of MJF and CM Punk together. It's like,
oh yeah,
like Punk is like, bro, you think I don't know you? Like you were a young boy, damn near. Like I'm your hero. Like I know you ain't out here. I know you aren't trying to disrespect and overstep the lines. So I'm just gonna have to come see you and make a fool out of you. So I'm sure the promos for this will be excellent. I think Punk's finding his groove, and MJF is ready for anyone.
Oh yeah, and this is like a massive elevation for him. For a man on this scale with this level of feud, after he's coming out of a massive grudge match with Eddie Kingston, to then go to something like this, that's telling you what they see in MJF. Like, he really is the future, and they use this to tell you pretty much he's going to feud with Punk, he's going to get elevated, and then he's going to face Hangman. Like they told you this beforehand, because once again, when you have creative control, you write the stuff, so you know what's coming next. And that's what this was. Like, they don't have to blatantly tell you. It's just, I think, like, I know not everybody can read film language. I've seen it firsthand. Right. It's just whenever I meet somebody who can't do it, I'm just like, they told you. And I was like, oh, you knew that was going to happen because it's predictable. No, they told you. They told you it was going to happen.
Right.
And that's what AEW do really well. They establish that thing of, oh, you know that's going to happen. You hear somebody say that. I reckon in a month you'll say, oh, you knew MJF would be next. Yes, because they bloody told you immediately after Full Gear. They told you he is the next challenger. And yeah, I feel like this is a perfect way to elevate, especially if they are going to hold over Christmas, the Danielson stuff, and then give it us at the start of the year. For me, it kind of makes sense of, you can use all of this time to build up MJF. Like, you've got the time to do it.
And I don't know if they're going to do that or if they're going to go with Punk, but I'm unsure which way to go. I think there's a great argument for MJF winning, but Punk is hot too. So like, I don't know. Maybe you just let them cut the promos and see who feels like they broke through a little more. You
can just judge it. It doesn't actually. I don't think it actually matters who wins. Really, just pick whoever. This next story works perfectly fine. Like swapping John Moxley with Bryan Danielson. It's worked out perfectly fine. You got two guys on that similar trajectory. It's all right. Teleporting Tony again backstage. This time with Darby Allin. The lad refuses to take time off and wants the best. When the opposite of that, in the Gun Club rolls up to the challenge and just each deliver a crap line and leave. It's like, to be fair, Darby Allin's just going to beat them. It's all right. I'm fine with this.
All right. Yeah, I saw this and I was like, the Gun Club, like really? I know the Guns are like undefeated on Dark and Elevation. Like they never lose in their 6-man matches. They're doing this big man, little man thing, and it's kind of like, all right, remember how they gave Brian Pillman to MJF after the last pay-per-view? This is kind of the same thing. However, if I was someone that didn't know any better, I would think they were trying to undermine Darby Allin and make sure he doesn't start getting sheared too much by putting him with Billy Gunn. But I guess we'll see how it works out. They got their match coming Friday, so I'm anticipating on Darby winning. Hopefully it's in an impressive way.
Yeah, and A-Up Frank in the chat just saying hello to us, which is nice.
Hey, what's going on, man? My man Frank.
Often it's whoever pops into the chat sometimes just has a paragraph, and I'm just like, okay, no hello.
Can't read it all. Sorry. We're live, pal.
Yeah.
Like Jim Ross would say.
Well, that's one of the things I sometimes when I look at the tweets I want to send and the tweets I actually send, it's just like I want to send like a full. There's a reason I write columns. Like I don't. Right. And what I actually send, I'm just like that's got no context to it. I don't get that on Twitter. I often think that place is not made for me. Like my hottest take in wrestling for years was that I understood. I could see that Bobby Fish was a really good wrestler. I just personally found him a little bit boring. That was my hottest take for years. It was just.
I 100% agree. Like I've got this thing in our friend group where every time Bobby Fish comes on, I'm just like furious, wondering why he's here. But now, like if he's gonna settle into like some tag team role, I think it's much more palatable because I think that's where he belongs. I got very tired of the Bobby Fish Make-A-Wish tour that was going on his first couple of weeks in the company. But
and
I calmed down since.
I did like last week Denise Salcedo putting out a tweet just saying Jungle Boy versus Bobby Fish. It's the land versus water. Let's do this.
Oh man, that's funny.
Just do a massive Survivor Series style elimination with land versus water. I'll take it. I don't know what people could come up with that. All I could think of was the waves of Walter. If you put brackets around the L, it works.
Right.
It. But this leads us on really well to the next segment. The Super Click, they're tired of the trio that beat them at Full Gear. This is it. This is the end of the road. We're done here. I did like how...
Small man anger.
Well, they did it for both of those promos, where at the start of the show, where it was with Kenny and here as well, they were just saying to okay, Brandon, let's give it another go. It's just like, they're selling that they're just not with it. It's taken them multiple tries to do these promos, and by the end, they're fine. Delivering them. And there's one thing that I kind of missed earlier, with that promo where Kenny at the start of it he just says I've not seen the match back yet but this and that, and it's like that's why he trusts the Bucks. He's not watched it, he doesn't know. It's like, but they made sure to tell us that. Just every little detail is picked up on. I love this company.
Cole does he does a cleaner I got this line which popped like all the Twitter heads and everything like that. Obviously, there's gonna be tension there because Kenny's like, I wasn't freaking talking to you. I'm talking to Bucks. Like we built this company, bro. Like you just coming back into this. Like, know your role. Like I thought he was this close from telling him that, but Kenny gets a write off kind of in that segment. Sad to see him go. I think he's he's been incredible, quite frankly, from the entire run. He's probably run in overdrive as far as injury wise. It looks like he's headed towards surgery and all that, so hopefully he gets fixed and he's got the springs back. But Bucks and Cole are pissed right now, and I think their anger, like we're gonna see like where all that leads, and I wouldn't be shocked like if Kyle O'Reilly came on in and he jumps in the fray, and
that was going to be my next point. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll let you go ahead on that.
So with the Bucks not cleared, Cole brings in Bobby Fish to take on Jungle Express, who runs them down. He runs down his opponents, but gets stopped from calling he and Cole's win undis. And then both the Bucks just like, no, you can't do that here. No. That's where all the promos end, but no. And I really like that they're building a little bit of a rift, between Cole and Omega, nice and subtly. And they've even established one between Kenny and the Bucks to pick at later. It's like, oh, you've established there might be a wound to go for there. You're not gone for it because Kenny's leaving and he's not watched the match back, so he doesn't know. Oh, so good. Then, here, you bring in Bobby Fish. And Kyle O'Reilly's contract runs out soon. Just like so many other people, where you look at them and you go, you would be just perfect for AEW. Like, that is a promotion for you. And Kyle O'Reilly's one of those people. Like, I'm not. For me, that's not a pro WWE thing or pro AEW thing. It's just like, I look at him as a style of wrestler, the kind of company WWE is.
The philosophy that's going on with who they're pushing, who they historically push.
Yeah, like he's just not going to get a look in. And if he does, it'll be temporary then to nothing, which I highly doubt as well. Cool Kyle's not going to get over on the main roster. He's not over in NXT.
He didn't even get over in NXT.
Yeah. It's just like, if it doesn't work, it's not going to happen. Like, no. So, but with AEW, you can immediately see, well, he's a fantastic wrestler, therefore he's already got what he would be in AEW. Like, they don't need to try and cool Kyle him. That doesn't need to exist. They just, like, he's a fantastic wrestler. You know his history. They can lean on to the Undisputed Era stuff. But because you can build that up, and you've got Bobby Fish being brought in by Adam Cole, that rift is there already between he and Omega. You just need that one piece, and he can kickstart Undisputed Era. And Bobby Fish wanting to do the Undisputed Era thing. That's just, it's just a nice little tie-in as well, where a tease that one day he can actually do it. That's what they built to.
They'll come up with a new name or something, but
Era.
I see what they're going for.
There's something better. So I think someone established like a play on the Ring of Honor name as a tribute, but like they're not dead; they're just reforming. So I don't know if it's really worth it. It's too soon. Think of a way to do it. But yeah, really looking forward to whatever they do with this. They're setting up something. Can't wait for it. Right.
All right.
I am pressing buttons all over my Word document for no reason. Right, here we go. Lio Rush and Dante Martin versus the Acclaims. We tickled on it a little bit earlier, but it's finding it to dive into this one. And like that is how this match immediately started. Dives to cut the Dives to cut off the chatty chappies. Oh god, that was difficult. Interesting tact to diss. He's got 3 kids. Leo as a virgin, but with Virginia. There's only one insult you can possibly do, apparently, in Virginia. Yeah. As Rich was saying earlier, they went for it. Not much more to say. I can't remember any of his other lines. Oh, it was the you've had more partners than Pete Davidson. That was it. That was the other one. Yeah, just the hot topic of the moment. Okay,
and he should stick to managing. I'm like, all right, but he didn't really get him the way he did, I think, on Rampage. So.
And because the only thing I know about the Pete Davidson thing is somebody on Twitter was just like, all of you reacting like, oh, Pete Davidson's done it today again. They're like, I bet you he's just texting, do you want to hang out? That's it. Just hanging out. That man.
Yeah, I don't really know too much about old Pete, but he seems to hang out with the women's.
Like, I've watched SNL. He's a funny man. That's all I know about Pete Davidson. That's all I've got.
Yep.
Anyway, yes, and this match here was the first time we've seen Dante's double springboard dodged, as AEW's wrestlers continue to show that they watch the product. Insane. They're not caught off guard by a thing that happens every single week. Eventually, because you saw this, it's one of my favourite things with Okada as well, where he watched his matches as champion over the course of his reign. People started to adapt to him. Then after that, he had to adapt and change out his moveset and bring in new things because people adapted, then he adapted to the adaptation. Rinse and repeat. And I
hope he adapts to the fact we hate the money clip.
He's I would say right now I prefer how he's using it now, where it's just a transitional move before he then moves to the next bit. It's better than this is how the match will finish. It's like, just what you mean with the crowd dead? I don't want this. This is great. Like the only time I've popped for like a really long submission like that at the end of a match, the only one I can think of is Yuji Nagata beating Kensuke Suzuki. Kensuke Sasaki. I forgot his name. Power Warrior.
Kensuke Sasaki.
That's it. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I've talked about the match like enough times. It's no his name. But at the end of that match, like Yuji Nagata's just choking him out for like 3-4 minutes straight. But obviously, like, Saki's got blood dripping down his face because they've had like a life or death match, I think it was called. And it's like, that match was a war. It's the best kind of blood feud match I've ever seen. Check it out.
I don't know if I've seen that. I know I've watched Kenta Kobashi and Kensuke Sasaki. I don't think I've watched Yuji Nagata and Kensuke Sasaki.
This one, it was in New Japan at the January 4th show, whatever it was called, in 2003. Like, one of my favourite New Japan matches. It's the best blood feud I've ever seen. So good. But that's the only time I've kind of popped for the long submission ending. Because, like, again, both of them were dripping with blood. And eventually one of them just collapsed. It's like, compared to the money clip where I'm just bored. It's like, come on, Kazu, you're better than this. It's so good. Anyway, this match was the exact opposite of that. Yes. But the main point I was talking about was we're seeing Dante's moves for the first time start to be dodged and countered because the wrestlers watched the show. Again, not a crazy concept, but it feels so fresh to see something like it. As Martin himself stopping Bowens to nail the second attempt at the springboard, double springboard, setting up Rush for his awesome mighty frog splash. I forgot how great that was, so damn strong. But yeah, what do you make of this awesome fast match?
I love this match. I didn't know that these guys would work together so well. I think Bowens has been on a roll going back to his Bryan Danielson and the Jungle Boy matches, and then he's rolling into it here. And I think the Acclaimed are really growing into their own as Caster. I think he's like I didn't think he had his best night rapping here, but of late he's been really good. And with Bowens, like that's a act that can, it has a lot of historical precedent. Like, really good worker, guy that can talk or cut the promos, and teams have existed like that forever. And had lots of success, sold a lot of merch. And then Lio Rush and Dante Martin is just like, when do we get them fighting the Young Bucks? When do they fight the Lucha Bros? Like, these guys are the crisscross zigzag thing that we're doing. Like, I've never seen that before. Like, that was just nuts. I think Lio Rush's look awesome, and it's like, why on earth would they make this guy a manager? And I don't know, and Dante Martin, I've seen people refer to him as the fifth pillar, the unofficial pillar right there. And this is another example. He's starting to get wins, and he's kind of like Michael from The Wire. Everyone's trying to get him to join their gang because they see the potential in this young star.
A reference I get now because I've watched The Wire.
Yes, sir.
But yeah. It was. I really like that dynamic that they're doing there because it makes Dante Martin feel like this amazing superstar of the future when Taz so desperately wants him. And I swear we saw this not long ago somewhere else. Oh, it was MVP. MVP did it as well with the Hurt Business, where he was just saying he's trying to recruit all of these guys. It's like when he got Cedric Alexander, it was just we want you. We even want Ali. We want Ricochet. You're all really great wrestlers, and it's just that thing of MVP then gets angry at them because he didn't want to join him, which is great, and it makes them seem strong because he wanted them in the group initially. It's like,
right.
Like, it's a simple formula and it really works. And before we move on, a question in the chat of do we think they'll do long Hall of Fame speeches or don't do any? Yes, the short speeches suck. A tad off topic, but I want to address it. This year, I'm assuming you are talking about the WWE Hall of Fame. It was lacking nouns, that comment. But so this year, the last thing I would ever want to see is a long Hall of Fame speech in the dystopian sci-fi setting of the Thunderdome. That is the last thing I want to see. But with fans there, it's a bit more bearable. Obviously, not for the wrestlers, as like they left Goldberg's because it was just so long. And they're like, we have got WrestleMania to get to, guys. Like, can we please preserve our energy?
Bro, I haven't watched a Hall of Fame ceremony in I don't think I've watched one since 2017, maybe.
I was trying to think. I skimmed through this. So this year's I had on in the background whilst doing stuff, and that's, if that counts as watching it. I listened partly, also left when it was perfectly fine to leave it. It's more so that I had experienced this again. It really felt like it's where it really jumped out at me. It's like, oh my god, this is the dystopian future we warned about in Arnold Schwarzenegger movies in the 80s. This is it. It's crazy. It's just the one, like, you have David Hott Smith speaking out to the crowd, to fake piped in applauses at a Hall of Fame. Like the screens of people and the sound coming out is piped in noise from a soundboard. Like, this is crazy. It's not even that's my worst thing about the Thunderdome, not to go even more off topic. But my least favourite thing was it wasn't just that they were pumping in the sound, it's that it was mixed so badly. That was my main thing. Like, we saw it in sports as well, where I don't know if they did it well in any of the sports in America, but over here you could just tell that it's just a bloke pressing a button because it just wasn't mixed. It was just, that's time for this sound now.
I've really noticed it on some of the shows that I've watched since actually fans have been back. They've just they've opened up this toothpaste and it's never going back in the tube. Like so,
which sucks for me. It's like AR where I'm like, but it's crap. Like, why are you still doing it? It's one of the things where they think it's good, and for me, it's a level of overproduction. It's like, like, you do know America's Got Talent is recorded, and they mix it and edit it together, right? So that's why, like, yes, that's still the same thing. Where that none of that is genuine. It's fine. It's heavily edited, massively overproduced. But if you're trying to do that live, you're mental. Especially if you don't have someone who knows what they're doing, which they clearly don't with this. And it sucks. I hate it. I can't stand it. Because it feels cheap and crap. And especially, the number one thing it tells me is you are conscious that the fans aren't doing what you want. And instead of writing a better show, you pipe in reactions. It's just, that's not the fix here. Your show still sucks.
I hate it. I hate the adjusting of, I don't know. I feel like there are things in wrestling, like, if you can lean on the truth, it makes it even better when you have to pull the con. Like I was talking about earlier, like, they've shown this history of people triumphing in their hometown. So now when they have to pull the con to get the storyline over of beating people where they happen to, hail from, it'll be more effective.
Compared to every single time a home person is in their hometown, they are getting beat. Yeah. Surprisingly enough, it's quite nice to have a feel-good promotion because you feel good. Not a big concept, not a huge concept. There's that idea of, what if as a promotion we're not the bad guys and we just build what people want to see? It's like, oh, what a lovely feeling. What a lovely, like, it's like, because I saw somebody just with a bad faith comment of just saying that, like, well, AEW only get there because they're getting the home people to win. It's just like, WWE can do this too. Like,
this is
nothing stopping them.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, this is not some illegal thing. This is something that they have control over. This is not a sneak attack. None of that. Like, this isn't some foreign booking idea. This is like, hey, you got someone that's a hometown star. You can actually make them mean something. Try to reward them. Try to make the crowd happy. But we all don't subscribe to the same philosophies.
Speaking of, there is no transition to this next bit. Christian, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. Something tells me Christian's line of "never bring a fish to a fist fight" isn't going to catch on. So he tells me it's like, it got a little chuckle out of me because it was so bad. But I'm just like, okay, cool. Yeah.
He's an old guy. He's allowed to miss.
Oh yeah. He can make dad jokes. He's at that age. It's all right. And but after this as well, the next thing that hit me, the hype just keeps on rolling. Where when they go through the cards for Rampage and Dynamite over the next shows, it's just like they just keep generating their own hype to that point where the next show feels like the biggest deal in the world because you want to see so many things on that show, and because they're rotating guys, you don't feel like, oh, it's this again. Like I've watched, Monday Night Raw's not been as bad with this recently. When I say recently, it's been like 2 weeks, so that's good for them. But you tune into the show, go like, okay, they're building a tag feud, therefore the champions get pinned. We have our singles matches. We have the match. Rinse and repeat. Every single, like the women's tag team titles, ever since they finished Kabuki Warriors versus Banks and Bailey, which was an amazing feud. After that, it's been the same feud again and again and again. And with this latest one, I'm like, come on, you're not gonna do. They did it again. I was just like, oh, come on, you can't be serious. It's just,
Can they coexist? Awkward
Oh,
tag team partners.
the fact that they
mismatched tag team partners.
For me, it was the fact that they built up two WrestleMania women's matches with the exact same "Can they coexist" storyline. Like that's incredible to coexist two coexist storylines. Like what? That is insane. And if you watch Raw, they'll be like, oh, but can Ali coexist with Mansoor? Can Randy Orton coexist with Matt Riddle? It's like, come on, guy. And then Survivor Series is a pay-per-view built out of can they coexist? Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. But you know who can coexist? It's Cold and Fish, as they face Jungle Express on Rampage. No, you don't have to wait till next week. This is on Rampage. Also on that show, Darby Allin versus Billy Gunn, blasting through that one quickly. And the next GBS Championship Tournament quarterfinal match in Jade Cargill versus Red Velvet. I'm generally really looking forward to that one. I feel like they're really good pairing.
Nice little video package they did for the Red Velvet and Jade Cargill. It's like, it made you feel like, all right, it might not be today. It might not be like, on Rampage. But Red Velvet's gonna beat Jade one day. I'm gonna go on the record now and say it's not gonna be here, but it could be for championship one day. And they've been linked since Jade has showed up, and I like their chemistry together. They in a way, I think what they're doing feels more real than I hate to keep comparing stuff to WWE than Charlotte and Becky. Like there's a level of physicality and call and response that they're doing. It's just I feel a little bit more pulled in by it.
Oh yeah, totally as well. And especially as I watch this and I'm just getting such strong vibes of Shingo Takagi in the Best of the Super Juniors, the biggest junior there ever was. It's just when he was in that tournament, he was undefeated, and they made him seem like the biggest deal. And he's having amazing matches, and he's just I can see this guy carrying this division. He could easily win. Then Will Ospreay beats him in the final. For me, that's exactly what you do with Jade Cargill. You build her up, She does not lose all the way to the top. Then you have whichever babyface faces her, whoever it is. You just do that. It's like yes, I'm all in. I'm assuming it's going to be Ruby Riott, maybe, or Ruby Soho. Let's get off my WWE thing, but yeah, that's for me. That's 100% the way to go. Just because Jade Cargill feels like this is all made for her, and you make everything going into even she and Mark Sterling talking that exact same way. Like this type of championship, it's for her. Look at the initials on the thing. She's made it her thing already. It is that bitch show. It's just or. I mean, I saw it as the Big Show. He just changed one from the Big Show. But still, the fact that she's being so cocky that she's going for it already, perfect to have her go to the final and lose. It's all been set up. Yeah, it's really solid. Also, speaking of solid, on Dynamite next week, it's the Thanksgiving show. Hooray, get ready for Black Friday deals, everyone. You can buy Christmas stuff, finally. I never remember. Black Friday's really recent over here. We didn't have it until, really recently. So I have to. Well, it didn't even catch on. The actual physically waiting outside of stores, because the reason for Black Friday even exists in the first place, we don't have that history. So it's a very American thing. It's one of the things when I thought about it, I was like, why don't we have Black Friday? And then I thought about it for a minute. It's I know that makes a lot of sense. Actually, but the actual commercial
I think the online game has changed everything. There's no real reason to do the physical store thing unless you just want your hands on something.
So 1 year we trialed the physical store thing, and the craziness did happen, but we didn't really take to it. But when the online sales happened afterwards, we really took to it. So we do the online. Yep. We have Black Friday, we have the mass deals, but it's all online. There is no physical craziness. We're it's quite cold. don't really want to do this. It's not really worth it. And there are a lot of idiots in my country, so giving them that amount of hype, they will not handle it. Not everyone can take it. Those shops did get stormed for no good product. It's no reason. And the amount of people afterwards are just you get just as good deals just online, and I've not have to leave my bed, so I'll just do that. Right. So yeah. But I never remember to wait. I keep thinking in November, I need to be doing my Christmas shopping, because it's November. That's what I've been conditioned to do. Start thinking about my Christmas stuff. But Black Friday exists now, so I have to do it at the end of the month. I just never remember. One year I'll actually remember that. Oh yeah, crap! There's a set period to actually do this now, and you get everything for half the price. It's definitely worth it. And no, PS5s will not be on sale. Have you seen what's happening with the stock? Like, no, that's not going on sale for at least another year. And if it is going on sale, it's like for £10. Like, it's not. It's not poorly. Anyway, also on Dynamite, I went off a massive tangent there. Bryan Danielson versus Colt Cabana. The TBS Championship Tournament quarterfinal of Jamie Hayter versus Thunder Rosa. And our big Thanksgiving multi-man main event, Cody, Pac, and the Lucha Bros versus Andrade, Malachi, and FTR. That's so many amazing wrestlers in that match. We're going to get possibly the best multi-man match of the week on Wednesday. Like, AEW throwing their hat in the ring.
That's going to be interesting. I think, especially like with Cody's like kind of thing, you know, it's tough to evaluate everyone around him, I think, and it just seems like more people are getting like spun into this web of Codyism. So it'll be another chapter. I'm sure we'll be talking about it on One Nation Radio. Like, but we've talked like every week, kind of the deeper we've gone into this thing and just trying to figure out where it's going. What is the actual story, or is it just something he's doing just to prove something to himself about his philosophy on wrestling? I don't know, man. I just hope that no one ends up worse. Like, if anybody's going to end up worse for it, it needs to just be him. I just hope it doesn't affect anybody else.
Oh, 100%. If they are leaning into it, I really, really like the idea of the arc. I really love the idea of him homelandering himself. Just I am the babyface that is loved by the people, but he desperately needs that love and becomes a massive dick when he doesn't get it. Just he's actually a really fragile ego in reality, but you need time to get that across, especially in wrestling.
Right.
Yeah, they can do it. And that leads us to the main event, the TNT Championship, Sammy Guevara versus Jay Lethal, with Tony Nese still just watching from ringside, just like, he's still there. Good for you, Tony. One day you'll debut. Maybe by the time, like this time next year, you will have debuts. just maybe long term it just turns into a running gag. Oh, this week Tony Nese is watching this match, and that's his entire character. There's nothing more.
Yo, Tony Nese just hanging out, be like, yeah. I'm not here to wrestle. Like, I'm taking it in, you know.
Like, did you know they're paying me for this? This is an amazing gig.
Right.
You get to walk out, watch a match, and then walk back again. It's amazing.
They can sell VIP packages. You know, hey, watch the show with Tony Nese. You know?
Oh, yes, that'd be brilliant. Instead of the look who's debuting on NXT now seat, which is just kind of like there. Because I can't remember who was talking. Somebody had gone to an NXT show, and they were just saying they had no idea that they did this. Oh, it was Leaf, former writer for Wrestling Headlines, and he went to one of the NXT UK shows. It was when they were doing them in that amazing ballroom, those first couple of shows, and he was just telling me that he had absolutely no idea that those wrestlers weren't there outside of that thing, because he was sat right behind where they were sitting them for one of those shows. And he was just like, I was just watching the show, and suddenly bloody Johnny Sate comes up, just sits right in front of me. It's like, that's cool, yeah. Which is like, and I was sitting there going, well, yeah. The only reason I knew that is because they didn't even try to do different locations. So when they have more than one person on the show, they sit in the exact same seat next to the same people, and they just hope that you wouldn't recognise the crowd around them. It's like, I'm somebody who will do that. Surprisingly enough. I'm somebody who ruined a stand-up comedian's... I'll name drop him. Daniel Sloss. I ruined his DVD recording because...
Oh, no.
And it was his first DVD, and we know him outside of this, and it's obviously first DVD for him, big thing, big day. Stayed around with him with his other friends, kind of making him laugh type of thing. Then in the DVD recording, me and my brother, he was wearing a bright purple hoodie, I was wearing a bright red hoodie. And because it was for the DVD, they do two different recordings and mix it together, and that's how they do stand-up comedy DVDs. But for the no, but they, just in case things don't get a laugh, the second recording you'll get different laughs, so it works well. But yeah, bright purple, bright red hoodies, and then we switched seats between the recordings. So very blatantly, these really bright colours. Every time we touched the crowd, are in completely different positions, and it really messes with you when they do that quick cut of a cut to the crowd, then he talks again, then back to the crowd again, and I'm like, the editors must have hated us. They just ruined all continuity. It's completely broken. Anyway, the main event, Guevara versus Lethal. Actually, first before I go into detail, Rich, what do you make of this main event?
I loved it. Oh my god. There was like real feeling that Sammy was going to lose the belt. I'm a huge Sammy Guevara fan. Picked him out very early as somebody I would tie one of my flags to in the promotion. Happy to see him thriving. Another epic defense. I think I was like 4 stars on this match. Jay Lethal, I don't think I've seen him wrestle that well in a long time. I don't know what I was really expecting, but he looked incredibly motivated. And I was like, man, if he's going to do that, like, shit, sign me up for some more. But yeah, this was like, they did a lot of they did some high speed stuff in the beginning of the match. They sold Sammy's rib thing enough, like during the picture in picture, to where like you were paying attention, where it was like, hold on, are they about to stop the match? And I think a lot of my friends bought it. I was like, nah, they're working. Just because like, I assume almost everything's a work, but, yeah, I think this was like, this is a big match, especially like Sammy coming off the inner circle thing. I think a lot of people are calling for him to get a little more active with the title defenses. And I'd like to remind people that he did a lot of the same stuff with Darby. Like, they still had his tag team feud going through a pay-per-view. And then after that pay-per-view, like, he kind of hit the ground running with the defenses. Like, you got to think Tony Nese is going to get in there with him. You got to think there's more wrestlers lined up for Sammy. And what Sammy's going to get to do is just be athletic and spectacular. But I don't want to forget Jay Lethal. I think Jay Lethal was very, very impressive in this match. A lot of questions around him, like with everything going on, and I feel like I don't know enough of the stories to really pass too much judgment. But yeah, I would say something has to get figured out with that situation soon by either him or the company or something. Just because I think the better he is, I think it's going to be more awkward. Ironically, it's like if he came in and stunk, I think people could just kind of forget about it. But like the way he performed was like, oh shit, I think he could win a belt one day. And I think the second that rears its head, like he wins the title or something, everything's going to come out in a more aggressive way than it did when he first signed with the company. And I had said in my group chat the other day, I was like, it's almost like he'd be solving one problem and creating another. So I just hope everything, gets like whatever that situation is, like the best result happens. But just strictly for this match, like, oh man, this match was ruled. Like it was a hell of a main event, capping off a hell of a show.
I mean, because we've seen the opposite of that with Will Ospreay, where it was just never addressed and it constantly just hangs there and it doesn't go away. This is not the sort of thing that, especially now, like, no, you can't just let this slide and pretend it didn't. Just ignore it. That's not how it's going to work anymore. So that still hangs over Ospreay's head, and it's not been addressed at all. And so to this day, you still see it's only been a year and a half because again, lockdown has warped all sense of time. Like a year ago feels like a lifetime. Like watching the Royal Rumble 2020. That feels like it was 5 years ago. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But yes, if it's not addressed. Then...
One other thing, Sammy. Like, since there's gonna be no Kenny around, like I think a good custodian of the V trigger would be Sammy Guevarra.
Brutal in this match. It was so good. The ones to set up, two brutal knee strikes to set up the go to hell. It's like, it was, which in itself I keep forgetting is a knee strike in a way. It just works so damn well. And for me, it reminded me of TNA Lethal, just the drive that was there. Immediately think like when I first started watching TNA, the feud that actually pulled me in, because I didn't really care for any of the former WCW stuff in the main event. Like, unsurprisingly, me born in '92, no nostalgia for it. Like, meant nothing to me. It's like, this old band.
These old blokes.
Yeah, this random old guy's turned up and they're hyping up like a big star. I don't know who he is. It means nothing to me. But with Jay Lethal versus Sanjay Dutt, that was the feud that actually got me. That's the one that got me hooked into the X division. and them two having that amazing feud over SoCal Val. That was it. That was the valet. That was, for me, that's one of my favourite initial feuds that I watched in TNA, and I've sent it to Drive in watching Jay Lethal here, because at that point it was this guy could rise, and he would rise a little bit in TNA, but they obviously never saw, like, his height after that was having a woo battle with Ric Flair. Like, that was the height he got through.
Hey, that video's lived a long time.
I was going to say, it's been like 12 years. It's still relevant. Oh, this is awesome. But yeah, the match itself, as Rich said, Sammy fighting through rib pain against the doctor's advice, with Doc Samson just out there. It's like, no, you can't continue, Sammy. And I had the thing of, because I'm watching the next day, that I knew that I can look at the time left. I know it's not finishing yet. It's a little con where if they're doing a thing like that, when you're watching live, you don't know what could happen. But watching recorded, well, it was like, well, I know there's like 10 minutes left. So they're not just going to call it here or end the show early or anything. We're going against Doctor's advice, and that led on from the match at Full Gear, where he did jump off a 15-foot ladder. Like, it kind of makes sense his ribs might hurt a little bit.
Yeah, came up there looking like DDP.
Oh, he always had that. I was going to say, was that again not in my era? Was that just...
Okay? So it started like it was legit, right? And then I think it just went on so long, like he just kept taping up after that.
Because for me, my only DDP story is I had played a WWF video game at my friend's house. There was a lot of marketing for WrestleMania X8, I think it was, in our country at the time, and I asked my mum, can I get some wrestling toys? Obviously, a bit more like a child. We're very, very, very posh over here in England. Dearest mother, can I please have some wrestling toys? It's how I said it. But and then she came back with what I thought was Triple H and Stone Cold. That's what I thought were the toys. It turns out it was Goldberg and DDP. And I found out, and they've got magnetic hands, and they kind of join together. But as a kid, for years, because it wasn't until I was older, I was like, oh yeah, I've got like a Chris Jericho, which would talk during the night, so it scared the living crap out of you. Where I just randomly just got Chris Jericho in my room going, huh! It's just like terrifying. Well, I'm gonna get you, bitch, or something like that. It's just. He just, in the middle of the night, randomly. It's one of those, like the button on the back broke, so the voice would just randomly play. A random voice. But yeah, so I thought for years I had a Stone Cold and Triple H toy, and then I went into the little box that had them.
You did not.
I did not. Proof, if you have a kid, you can buy them literally anything. Especially when they're younger. Like, oh well, they might not care about this thing. Like, just give them any old shit. They'll be happy with it. It's all right. I've watched a 3-year-old be absolutely astounded that I can make a squeaky toy squeak, because she just could not figure out how to make it squeak. And when I did it, it was like, oh my god, that's incredible. Like, trust me.
Right.
Any old shit. But anyway, yeah, I love that the continuity. Sammy's got his ribs taped up because he did a daring stunt in the match, and then Jay Lethal took advantage as a little bit of a Healy type thing. And in this match, there was like because of course his first match, there's not a strong alignment, but he was definitely the villain of the piece. I'll say out of the two of them. But yeah, really putting effort into it, convincing us that Sammy might actually lose this. And that it really was a mistake to take this match, especially as I did that spot with Doc Samson going, no, you can't continue, Sammy. And then immediately after takes a mighty splash with Lethal just powering up into the air, and Sammy jumping as high as he can for that, landing as flat and open. It's just like, oh, good God, man, good God. Which wasn't the worst of the match, where Sammy crashed himself through the timekeeper's table with an awesome dive off the corner ring post. And because there was a thing in AEW where it felt like there aren't many like table spots. Like there's no like very rare to see an announcer.
Yeah, because the announcers don't sit there.
Yeah, and they very rarely have a moment where they'll go. Like the last one we saw, I think, was CM Punk, who was on commentary at by Team Taz. Like you very rarely see those kind of spots. And then you got the timekeeper's table, which very recently has suddenly seen a lot of action, just in kind of like recent times. And that was a crazy spot. Got an awesome reaction, and all Lethal had to do was just hit the killing blow. that was it. Sammy was done after that. He just had to hit the killing blow, but he couldn't do it. And for me, that was more showing how great Sammy is as a wrestler. Like, there's a reason he's champion. Was he was out of it. He was done for, but he kept countering. He kept fighting back. Lethal couldn't hit the killing blow because Sammy wouldn't let him. It's like, oh yes, I love that rhythm.
Yeah. There was real doubt, I think, in this, and testament to both of those guys for working us like that. That was like the art of wrestling right there.
It's so good, so good.
No Colt Cabana.
It's his moment next week. He can wait for his shine. He'll get it. I think
moment to get his head kicked in.
I love Bryan Danielson just shouting it during this match. I'm gonna kick your fucking head in. The commentator's like, "Ooh, that's a bit fruity." Like over here in our football, because the chanting at our football matches, the language isn't the greatest. It's not the nicest. Right. And the commentators now apologise whenever there's a chant which might contain some foul language, which is every single match. And they just have to kind of pause the commentary and just go, we actually, I'm being close. We have to apologise if you heard any bad language there. We are sorry. And I'm just like no one cares. Like, who's this for? Just to do that. Right. It was really funny, just the commentator's reaction going, oh, that word was audible. With Bryan Danielson.
TK in the headphones, hey, make sure they know this ain't us.
But yeah, I loved Danielson doing that because just like, oh, this guy's serious. Yes, I love this. That's not relevant. I will say, every time I look at the preview screen on the YouTube studio, I laugh because I said the Bryan Danielson background I've got. I find it so funny. Anyway, the match ending, as we talked about earlier, a succession of running knees sent Lethal groggy as Sammy gritted through the pain to nail the go to hell. Unsurprisingly, Guevara delivers in a main event yet again. He's got a streak going here. AEW again continuing to use wrestling veterans so damn well to prop up their future. And afterwards, Inner Circle out to celebrate and show honour to Lethal in the ring. I loved it.
Yeah, I wonder what faction tries to recruit Jay Lethal.
Hint, hint. Nudge.
We'll see.
It's going to be Team Taz, isn't it?
Oh my god! Yeah.
Obviously,
Taz.
Wait, what? Want to do some recruiting? We're here. I will say my favourite Taz trait is shitting on something before immediately singing Tarzan Boy. Like, he just can't help himself. Like, I love it. He's so good on Rampage. Oh, and on Dark or whatever. He's so funny. Anyway, yeah, an amazing match to end the show. A solid segment to start it, and like, outside of AEW norm, like, they kicked off with like a 15-20 minute bit all tied together. Like, you got the Kenny Omega talking at the start, then you had the Hangman Page celebration, Bryan Danielson's interruption, then the match with Evil Uno. Like, that whole bit was like 25 minutes, which AEW normally will kick off with like a hot match for like 10 to 15. Then you get a talking segment that's maybe like 5 to 10. So right. This is a nice change of pace. AEW showing that they can do the different formulas.
Yeah, I thought it was a really strong show. I jokingly called it Full Gear Dash, just because it's like it kind of felt like a reset. Like, there's a lot of different moving pieces, and I like them bringing Hangman out because that was everything. That was the thing that was on everyone's mind. So if you'll see this like 1 out of like 10 weeks, or even more than that, like 1 out of 15 weeks, I think that's fine. Like, yeah.
Yeah, this was a set-up episode to kind of guide us into the next direction, with a lot of stuff still continuing, like the fallout of Full Gear, with certain matches getting set up to kind of finish that fallout, and then other things kind of just like MJF CM Punk setting up what's going to happen. Bryan Danielson, Hangman, just kind of guiding us in that next direction. And personally, yeah, just a solid show. I can't really fault it. Really, like, good stuff, really good stuff. And I love Dickhead Danielson. I think it's great. or he's always a dick, but it's different variations, different levels. It's different levels of bellend, depending on if he likes the guy he's wrestling or not, which I really like. Yeah, let's go. To be fair, that is what the American Dragon was before Ring of Honor. Like, he would do that exact same thing. So do that here. Like he's not a babyface. He's not a heel, because that's one of the things I was talking about on Twitter earlier. Just to close off, is that my final thing with I saw some, I'll say, bad faith complaints, because I don't know what else to call them, where they're essentially painting the idea of Bryan Danielson turning heel as a bad thing, when what we talked about earlier wasn't what he's not turned heel. It's just a bit of a dick, which is fine. But
yeah, man, I would suggest people to stop, like, or A, watch more wrestling. B, realize that AEW isn't a company that, aside from Cody, right? And even Cody, like, Cody's not going to force you how to react to him. Like, you can react to him being a good guy if you want and just keep cheering him. I think in the case of Danielson, it's a face versus face feud, and normally at in face versus face feuds, one of a couple things happens. Someone either turns heel at the end, or someone, like, kind of turns at the beginning. But I think the deal, like, you've seen, one of my favorite examples of this is when Diesel, I'm going to go back to 1995, Diesel won the championship, and the first guy he had to wrestle was Bret Hart, right, at the Royal Rumble 1995. Now, Bret realized that if he sold the wrong way, the crowd would just look at Diesel as the heel. So what did Bret do in the match? He turned up the aggression. He worked more physical. He was kind of the one that was like the aggressor, and I feel like Bryan's doing the same thing here. This isn't like if he was really turning heel, I think we would have got him like kind of cowering at some point in the match. He would have like insulted Shivani. He would have done a little bit more. For me, this is just him leaning in to make a dynamic work and to keep Hangman as strong as a babyface as possible, because he has the belt. Like, he has to look good. So I think everyone's going to play their roles just fine, and we'll probably, whenever this match happens, Hangman will win, Bryan will shake his hand, and then Bryan will go back to being, happy-go-lucky or whatever.
Yeah. And like for me, the main takeaway is it's not about Bryan Danielson. They want to establish Hangman Page as an awesome babyface, so that's what Danielson's doing. He's trying to get as great a reaction for Hangman as possible. And look, it worked. 100% worked. 100%. And for me, that's more what I saw with the bad faith is it's more trying to fit what AEW is doing into the way the other company works, which is very clear, filed columns of goodie or baddie, and it doesn't matter. Character traits don't matter, and because a lot of them don't have them, they can just be sorted into goodie and baddie. It doesn't matter. Past feuds don't matter. There's no other context needed. It's just that you are goodie or baddie for this plot point, and then we'll do this, and yeah, fine.
Right.
Compared to AEW, where they do have characteristics, motivations, and things, so you can do babyface versus babyface, heel versus heel, because they have different convictions that will clash. You set it up, set up that world, awesome stuff. So yeah, really positive about AEW right now. Not surprised at hearing reports that the locker room is in a really good place after Full Gear. Like, that does not surprise me at all.
Why wouldn't you? If you're a young wrestler, you'd be like, damn, like Hangman did it. Like, and I see MJF and Darby. It's like, bro, like, I gotta imagine like everyone's motivated.
Well, it's like what we hear the stories from WWE about them being told that we'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll do all of this, for them to just go back on the word and just not give it, and then again offer this amazing idea that we got for you that we're only going to half do if we do it at all. Compared to this, where obviously Tony Khan has made a promise to Hangman, and then he's done it. It's just builds so much trust.
And it was like, hey, you know what? Go and celebrate the birth of your child with your family. I think that goes a long way too. So yeah, man, like, people always are asking these questions on Twitter. Who do you think is going to be the first person to jump from AEW to WWE? And I really think it's them asking, and from a place of them just hoping it happens, because like everything is going the other way so hard, and eventually it will, right?
Yeah, eventually,
jump, right? But it's going to be really hard to pinpoint that person. I would imagine we never see it coming, like whoever it is. And it's like, just because everything that comes out of there is so positive, and then like you can kind of reflected with what you see on screen. Like,
oh yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, I think people are going to be in for a rude awakening. Like when they were like, oh yeah, so it's just resigned, and it's already happening. Britt's already resigned. Scorpio Sky's resigned. Those are like two of the only ones that I really know that have resigned so far. But it's you know, they're already building for the future.
Oh yeah, 100%. And again, the Four Pillars stuff is all about that. Like, no, we've already got our guys. We're already doing it. Yeah, we looked at All Japan and went, oh, that's a good idea. We did that with the just the pillars thing, not the actual wrestling style. It's 2021. You've seen what those guys look like now. Like, I will say Tai Chi pops me every time he does a dangerous suplex. Yes. Yeah, they do get that. Anyway, I realised that I could massively go into different tangents and keep the show going for way too long than it needs to be. So. That is the end of the AEW review. Rich, do you want to plug all of your stuff before we say goodbye?
Oh, man, I got a lot of stuff, too. Follow me on Twitter, at RichLatta32. Make sure you guys check out One Nation Radio. I host with my buddy James Boyd, who you often see on some of these reviews with Imp. We have a lot of views on a lot of things, and we actually have our award season coming up soon, so that's going to be pretty fun. If you guys are on Twitch, you can do twitch.tv/RichLatta. Sometimes I'll be playing the video game. Sometimes I'll do a watch along, and then the One Nation Radio shows go live on there as well. So you can do that and just follow Social Suplex.
And for me, you can follow me at the Damn Implicat. That's damn as in damn, and at the Implications with 2 S's, which I've done one stream is in a long time and I did it this week. So fingers crossed, we'll see how it goes. And
thanks for having me on, man.
Yes, and also I'll be live. It's irritating that I have to say this. I'm going to be live after Survivor Series immediately after the show with the WWE Aftershock. As soon as the pay-per-view goes off, I'll be live as a very, very tired British person who's probably watched a show that was fine, and I'll have to say that for 2 hours. That's my prediction. The build's been crap, but it'll be fine. I just don't care about anything. I don't care about anything that's happening, but it's fine. The matches are fine. Like, it's not harming anything. It's all right, unless they think about it too much and do some crap booking, which Survivor Series you don't need to.
It's real hard to mess up on an all-star game. So like, I don't know, unless they just embarrass somebody, which never can be taken off the table. They could just beat someone in 8 seconds or something.
Cough, cough, Walter.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited enough. If not, just like there's so much going on in my life, I don't want to stay up for a show that doesn't feel like it matters. But there we go.
Right. Get your sleep.
I'm going to try my best. See how it goes. But yeah, so I'll be back on Sunday for Aftershock for Survivor Series. Thank you for listening, engaging in any form, in any manner. Never take it for granted, always appreciated. And with that, I bid you adieu, and I used the right mouse to do it. With that, I bid you adieu. Adios.